Time to remind you of the breaking news this hour. A prisoner who was released in error has handed himself in. In the last few moments, a tweet from the Justice Secretary David Lammy saying William Smith is back in custody. The spike in mistaken releases is unacceptable. We're modernising prison systems, replacing paper with digital tools to cut errors. We're working with police to recapture the remaining Brahim Kador Sheriff, who is also mistakenly released from HMP Wandsworth. Joining us live is our national correspondent, Tom Parmenter, who's outside HMP Wandsworth. And you've got some further details, Tom, about William Smith's return to custody.
Yes, they didn't catch him. He handed himself in, William Smith, doing the decent thing and turning up here at Wandsworth Prison himself, accompanied by his partner at around 10:15 this morning. And he went back inside and said, look, I know I'm wanted. And he is now back behind bars. And we understand that his partner was in tears as they said goodbye just outside the prison here this morning. And he is starting that 45-month sentence that should have started on Monday when he was sentenced in court. But there was a mix-up between the court and the prison, and they accidentally released him. Another one of these mistaken releases that is causing so much embarrassment and anger within the government as to what is going on within the prison service. There's a meeting of prison governors that is taking place today to try and see what else can be done to try to make sure that these things stop happening. We know that there's around 22 incidents per month at the moment across the country where prisoners are just let out by mistake. And as we know, there is another manhunt ongoing still for this Algerian 24-year-old sex offender who was released in error on the 29th of October from this prison as well. That was just a few days after the fiasco with Hadush Kabatu, the Ethiopian sex offender who was released from Chelmsford prison. And just days after David Lammy, the Justice Secretary, had promised the tightest ever checks on releasing prisoners. Well, they clearly aren't happening to the level that they should be happening, because we now know that in the space of a week, 2 more have disappeared. As I say, William Smith now back in custody here at Wandsworth as the political fallout from all this continues to rumble on, and the real-world consequences for the victims of these men and prisoners who are being released, and also the communities for wherever they may be now. This Algerian sex offender was due to be deported because he had overstayed his visa, and the Metropolitan Police telling us that that manhunt for that particular offender is still ongoing.
Tom, I'm just interested in a line that was in David Lammy's tweet in the last few moments, referencing the fact that lots of the processing for this is still taking place on paper, that they're only now just digitising parts of this system. You know, Wandsworth Prison behind you was built in 1851. It sounds as though some of the processing systems are still Victorian in their nature now in 2025.
Yes, some parts of the prison estate still use technology that, frankly, a lot of people under the age of 30 have never heard of, certainly have never used, such as fax machines or carbon copy paperwork, where there's a sheet on top and different colour sheets underneath so that there's a paper trail. This kind of thing is almost unbelievable that it's still being used as the process, and there's no wonder that mistakes are being made when handwriting has to be deciphered between colleagues. We spoke to an inmate who came out last night here at Wandsworth, who was released correctly after a week or so inside, and he said that it was chaotic inside, with lots of inexperienced staff members not really having a handle on the processes that they should be overseeing. And of course, these are really important things that often involve quite dangerous offenders who should be punished, but in fact are being allowed out. And it's only down to William Smith, the offender who handed himself back in here this morning, that he is back in custody. It's down to him and his conscience more than the police hunt for him or anything that the government has done. William Smith has done the right thing. He's back serving his sentence for fraud offences. But as the government have said, people across the country have said, this can't go on. And really that effort to try and get on top of these bungled bits of bureaucracy that just continue to crop up within the prison system, well, that just has to be sorted out as a matter of absolute priority for the government, not least the Justice Secretary, David Lammy, who is aligned so closely to these fiascos. He's promised this will be better, and clearly what we're seeing over the course of the last week here at Wandsworth and quite possibly at other prisons as well, the system isn't working.